Welcome back to the Big Leagues podcast. David and Isaac back with a video bringing you a quick NFL mock draft. Lots of big prospects. We've been doing some research. Want to do a quick little mock draft. Isaac's going to take all the odd picks. I'm going to take all the even picks. And then we're going to throw on the Panthers since they don't have a first round pick. They have the 33rd pick, so that falls under Isaac's domain. So getting right into it, Isaac, you're on the clock with the Chicago Bears at 1.
1-1, I'm not going to waste any time here. Caleb Williams to the Bears. I mean, I think everybody's known this for a while, and especially after they traded Fields, kind of the consensus first overall pick this year. Actually just had his pro day earlier today, saw a few of the throws, just crazy arm talent from Caleb Williams. And, I just think the Bears got their franchise guy at 1 here, Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an alley-oop. Gotta pick with Caleb Williams at 1, in my opinion. It's just anything else, you look like an idiot.
So everything can be arguable from here.
Yeah, from here. I think the top is pretty. I mean, yeah, even at 2, it becomes a question of Drake May and Jaden Daniels. I think the Commanders are looking at both of them. PFF's got Daniels ranked considerably lower. I don't know about that. Like, he seems pretty unanimous top 3 selection in this draft. Tough call. I think Daniels has more upside, and I think he makes sense on the Commanders, so I'm going with Jaden Daniels at 2.
Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
I like that pick. I mean, I guess here with I think another layup for me, I guess to start off my mock draft, I think going Drake May, UNC. I mean, traded Mac Jones, so they definitely kind of made it clear that they're going quarterback in the draft, and they got a top 3 selection. And I think Drake May, I think he's kind of Justin Herbert-esque. I think he's got a big arm. I like Drake May a lot, and I think he's going to be, if New England can bring some talent around him, I think he'll do good things. So I like that pick for New England.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I think they gotta go QB. Like, especially getting rid of Mac Jones. Like, you don't want Bailey Zappi as your QB. So I think we're all in a pretty much agreement so far. Don't see that changing with the Cardinals at 4. Marvin Harrison Jr. Another no-brainer for me. Consensus Absolutely. #1 wide receiver. I feel like he could be potentially like a top 5 wide receiver in the world some point soon. I think he has that kind of ceiling, that kind of upside. You agree?
No, I think he's gonna come in like on like kind of like Jefferson and Chase and be kind of like a maybe top 10, top 15 guy like right off the rip. I think he's that talented. I mean, if the top 3 teams that need quarterbacks so much, I could see him going top 3 honestly in another draft. I think it's a slam dunk pick there for the Cardinals. I guess with 5 here, I'm gonna go with my second ranked receiver in the draft, and I'm gonna go Malik Nabers from LSU. I'm a big fan of his game, and I think with the Chargers getting rid of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, big hole at wide receiver there that needs to be filled. Not too many guys left in free agency that kind of are wide receiver 1 caliber guys. So I think Malik Nabers to the Chargers makes a lot of sense for me.
Yeah, completely agree with that one. I mean, they have such a hole at wide receiver. You need to give Herbert some weapons. Nabers got that blazing speed. I think that's a great pick. Giants at 6. This one is for me where it starts to get hard.
Yeah.
They do need a quarterback really bad, but they got Daniel Jones into a lot of money. They desperately need weapons. They really got nobody of note. I mean, other than like 48-year-old Darren Waller gets hurt every year. That's like their best weapon. So I think they could improve that. And their defense kind of has holes too, but they've been linked to McCarthy at QB. To me, I'm not a big McCarthy guy, not at 6 overall. I mean, he hasn't really shown enough to me in college. I know he didn't get asked to do much, but I still would like to see a little more to pick a guy at 6 like that. I think when you reach on QB, that's when you get busts. Like Daniel Jones, exactly, reaching at a QB at 6 to New York. So
I hope your lesson there. So
yeah, I think for that reason, I think I would go with another bona fide wide receiver prospect in Rome Odunze. I mean, he played at Washington and really good at catching like jump balls and might not quite have like the blazing speed of some like Nabers, but I still think his ball skills are really good, and I think he'll be a good wide receiver in the league. So I like that pick for them.
Well, I think that's a great pick. That's kind of who my prediction was to go to the Giants. I just think it's been so long since Odell, they haven't had a wide receiver one in New York. And I honestly just think, in the NFL draft, when you can get kind of elite tier skill players, I always think it's kind of worth the pick because that's kind of, you can build, there's good tackles and kind of good defensive players every year, but, top tier talent is always valuable in the NFL. So I like that pick there. With the Titans here, I think, they made quite a few moves getting Pollard and Ridley in free agency. So, and I guess they're kind of rolling with Will Levis as their guy this year, presumably. So I'm going to go with the Titans to bolster up their O-line, go Joe Alt, the tackle from Notre Dame. I think their offensive line last year definitely took a step down. And I think tackle is kind of one of their positions that they need. And I've seen him mocked to Tennessee in a lot of drafts. So I think he's the top tackle projected. So I think that makes sense for Tennessee there.
Yeah, I agree with that. They need a tackle, so pretty safe pick.
Yeah.
On the board with the Falcons at 8, they were projected to be a QB team. They brought in Kirk, so the QB is pretty much off the board. They got some decent weapons like Drake London, Kyle Pitts. I think they bring in a pass rusher. I'm not seeing him here. Yeah, there he is. I would go with Dallas Turner. I think that's a good pick for them at Alabama. Potentially do their best to bring in a star pass rusher.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a need for them as well. They already got a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. Brought in Kirk, like you said, so I like that pick for Atlanta. With 9 here, Chicago back on the clock, drafting twice before my Panthers, unfortunately. I already picked quarterback. Here, I have them going to upgrade the offensive line. And I'm going to go with, let me find them. I mean, my pronunciation ain't going to be right, but Olimiwa Fashanu from Penn State. I think, protect your rookie quarterback. I think we really saw this year how important it is to protect your quarterback. So many injuries this year. And, they're taking Caleb first overall for a reason. You already brought in Keenan Allen, so you got some weapons for him. I think it'd be a safe pick to, shore up your offensive line, give him some protection. And this, out of my projections, I have him as the second best tackle in the draft. So I think that makes sense for me there.
No, I agree. He was a guy that was kind of projected like top 4, top 5, or yeah, like top 5-ish at the start of the season, but kind of slid down the boards a little. So for them to get him at 9, and like we mentioned with the first pick, how they brought in those weapons, I think bringing in a tackle is pretty good. And another team that brought in a weapon, the Jets signed Mike Williams. They were pretty much like locked in at a wide receiver at this spot before then. Now it's not so much of a need. Also, tackles were a big problem. They brought in 2 veteran tackles. Tyron Smith from the Cowboys, who's like been a good tackle in this league for a long time. Got some injury concerns, but if he can stay healthy, that'll shore up that position. So for me, it's a bit of a tough one too. Like their defense is top of the league. I think for me, bring in another weapon for Rodgers. Go all in on weapons. Brock Bowers, top tight end prospect in the league. Some people would be scared to take a tight end this high, especially after Kyle Pitts, but I don't know. I think anytime you got a prospect that touted at a position, we've seen with Kelsey and other guys how they can revolutionize that position. The position's evolving. I think Brock Bowers can be a weapon, and add that to Rodgers' arsenal. I think the Jets could be dangerous this year.
Yeah, I like that pick because you saw last year with Laporte and Kincaid how, rookie tight ends can make impacts right away. So, and Brock Bowers by far the top of the class, and we've known about him for years now. So I think add another weapon to the Jets offense for Rodgers makes sense. Makes sense there. Here with the Vikings, I think I'm gonna surprise you a little. A lot of people have quarterback. I do not have him going quarterback at this pick.
Oh.
I have him going corner. I am going Quinion Mitchell, cornerback from Toledo.
Okay.
I just think he's my top corner in the class. I think the Vikings, I think they gotta patch up that secondary. I don't think it's really Depar, and I think they need a corner. So, and they have another pick left to maybe address quarterback. I'm not gonna get into that yet, but I'm gonna take.
Well,
I got Quinyon Mitchell here, corner.
that's interesting. Like, Vikings not taking a QB is a bit of a bold take. I like it though if you can get certain guys later, and if you like if you're the Vikings and you like a guy that you think you can get at 23, why not take a potential stud corner in Quinyon Mitchell? But this got my board all screwed up because I was expecting JJ McCarthy to get off the board there to the Vikings. Um, makes for me, I think if McCarthy's on the board at 12, I think the Broncos got to go there. Um, if McCarthy's gone before that, I could see them going Bo Nix there too, honestly, or potentially wait and get Bo Nix in the second round. I think Sean Payton. I just have a gut feeling that he's a big Bo Nix guy, but I also have a feeling he's a big JJ McCarthy guy. So I think if he's on the board, I think they would do it.
I agree. Like
I
when
personally wouldn't, to be honest. I'm not big on McCarthy. I'd like to get that take
I'm
out there, but
so quite the hater on McCarthy. So when I was kind of thinking of who Minnesota would take, I kind of knew that McCarthy's probably going to Denver. Like that's just gonna be who you'd take, and I agree with that. Because Denver needs a quarterback bad.
mm-hmm.
I'm just not a believer in McCarthy. Whereas this, um, another team, I guess we're gonna have back-to-back quarterbacks here with the Raiders because I think they
Oh,
need, and I think they're gonna take Bo Nix at 13.
okay.
I know that it's a bit of a reach, but I just think, maybe you let him sit behind Minshew for a year because, he's still got I guess Bo Nix is a pretty old quarterback, but I just think, Minshew can't be your answer with a receiver like Devontae Adams. And
Mm-hmm.
I can't even find Bo Nix here. I think quarterback makes sense for them. They brought in Christian Wilkins, already some pieces on defense. They could definitely use a corner. Probably should address that in round 2 or something, but I think Bo Nix at 13th overall to the Raiders is my selection.
To be honest, I think that's a dreadful pick. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a terrible pick. I don't think Bo Nix is that worthy of the 13th pick. I don't think he's that good. I think he could end up being a good quarterback. I just don't know if I would waste a 13th on him. Raiders are desperate for a tackle and desperate for a corner, and there's some pretty good ones on the board. So I would have to disagree with you on that one. Um, but they do need a QB, so I guess that is valid in one way. On the board with the Saints, another like team that could use a QB, but again, I wouldn't burn one with this pick. I think for them, I would just grab some O-line play. I'd take Talise Fuaga from Oregon State.
I think that pick makes sense. Their O-line's definitely like losing Teron Armstead a few years ago, and O-line just hasn't really been the same since. So I think tackle does make sense for the Saints there. With the Colts here, I have them going from Bama, Terrion Arnold. I think
Yep, great
think
pick.
think they need another corner. I know they brought Kenny Moore back, but I just don't really think he's a number one corner in this league. And they lost Stephon Gilmore last year, who was there. So I think corner's a weak spot for them, and I think they go and get one of my top guys with Terrion Arnold from Bama.
That's a great pick. I like that one. That's exactly what I would have done. I think Arnold and Mitchell are the top 2 corners, so get a potential lockdown corner for Colts would be big. Seahawks on the board. They got some needs too. I mean, like their interior O line could use some work. Look at potentially Powers Johnson there for them. They could also use some like D line help, I would say too. Um, I think I'm gonna give them Troy Fatana from Washington, listed as a tackle, but I think they'd probably play him at guard. He's a really versatile O lineman, can play all over. I think that's kind of like important when someone on your O line goes down, you can shift him around. to kind of ease the burden on some other guys. So I think that versatility will come in big for Seattle.
That's actually why I had in kind of my mock. I had felt going to from Washington going there. I think they lost. Panthers kind of snagged Lewis, so they're and I don't think they have too many glaring needs. So I just think with this kind of pick, beefing up the offensive line, or you just lost a starter there, just kind of the make sense pick there.
Mm-hmm.
Now with the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock, sorry, 1 sec. Just gotta flip. I have them going corner as well, and I have them going Nate Wiggins from Clemson. Real speedy corner here. I'm a big fan of his. He was kind of slipping in some of the earlier mock drafts, and I was hoping maybe the Panthers could snag him with the pick, but I just think they made a lot of additions. Jacksonville did this free agency, bringing in Armstead from the Niners, Gabe Davis. So I think they plugged a few of the holes they need, but I think beefing up your DB room is just never a bad decision. And I think I think just adding a solid corner here just kind of makes sense for the Jags. So that's kind of what I was thinking there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like Nate Wiggins. I think he could have some good potential as well. And the Jaguars definitely needed a corner, so that's the same pick I probably would have made too, to be honest. And now with the Bengals on the clock, I was originally kind of leaning tackle for them. I know there's some good tackles, but it's interesting. Like, they got Orlando Brown, and they just signed Trent Brown, I believe, as well. I think that could hold up. So I don't know if maybe I won't go tackle with them. I'm kind of leaning to go cornerback. I think I'd be between like Kool-Aid McKinstry and Cooper DeJean. Potentially. I think I'd go Cooper DeJean for them. Out of Iowa, he can play corner and he can play safety. And Bengals secondary, I think, could use some help. So I think his versatility would be big for them and give them a stud on defense. I mean, they got if Joe Burrow can be healthy, like, that offense is going to be good no matter what. So bolstering up that defense, I think, is a good play.
Yeah,
that was a tough pick, though. I wasn't sure what to do there.
Bengals, a lot of people they could have went with there. I think addressing corner, it's definitely one of their weak spots. Their secondary, I think they got Trey Hendrickson, a few good guys on the D line, and their offense is. When you got T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Burrow, it's going to get the job done. So I like that pick. With the Los Angeles Rams on the clock here, I think they're going to take the first interior defensive lineman to replace 99 Aaron Donald, and I think they're going to go Byron Murphy the second from Texas.
Okay.
This is who I have here. I just think losing the greatest player in franchise history, basically, and just your star player for years on years, just big hole there, and just there hasn't really been an interior defensive lineman, so you get your pick of the crop, and I just think Byron Murphy, he's the highest projected on a few lists, and big boy from Texas. I just like kind of big run stuff, or just some of the stuff you can do. I think would help the Rams a lot.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I had them going interior D lineman too to replace Donald. I had them going Johnny Newton, but Byron Murphy's also a pretty good pick. Got my Steelers on the clock. They made some big moves in the offseason. Potentially might be addressing that in an upcoming video. We'll see. Stay tuned. One big time hole they still got left is at center. I think they take the top center in the draft, Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. We haven't had a good center since Marquise Pouncey retired, and we just cut our center from last year, who was shit. So we definitely have to pick one up, and we haven't addressed it yet in free agency. So I think we do that in the draft and take a potential franchise center.
I think that makes sense. Bringing in Arthur Smith too, you're going to rely heavily on the run game. So having a good center, you need a good center to have a good interior run game. I thought kind of the only other pick, maybe you look wide receiver after losing Deontay Johnson.
Or a tackle.
Yeah.
But I think Steelers, would address wide receiver in the second round. They made a living out of doing that. So I think that's what they would lean. But Who knows? Could be wrong.
With Miami now on the clock, I have them going J.C. Latham, tackle from Alabama. I saw there was rumors of Teron Armstead retiring this year, and so I just think maybe next year he's probably gone, and their other offensive tackle isn't exactly great, and they lost Robert Hunt as well, another offensive lineman to the Panthers. So I think getting a good versatile tackle here from Bama just kind of. I mean, they addressed quite a few holes in free agency on their defense too, so I didn't see too many glaring holes. So I thought, taking a good strong tackle just kind of makes sense here for Miami.
Yeah, I would have went O-line too for them. Good pick. Eagles on the clock. They have wide receiver listed as a need for the
Yeah,
Eagles. I don't know if they're what kind of drugs they're doing. They kind of have like
I guess AJ.
potentially the best wide receiver group in the NFL, but it is what it is. I mean, that and D line for them, I think, are pretty loaded. So I would stay away from that. For them, linebacker and defensive backs are big needs. I do agree with that one.
Yeah.
Just going to filter by cornerback here to see what's left. I mean, having a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry still on the board at 22, he's fell like down the boards pretty far, but I don't know. I still think there's a reason why you're projected super high like 6 months ago. So I'm not gonna let like a little slippage deter me. Eagles desperately need some DBs, so I think I'd go Kool-Aid for them.
Kool-Aid. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great pick, but I also hate the pick. So I was hoping maybe my boys could get him at 33. I honestly, I'm a big fan of him. I don't really know why he's slipping. I'm not too in tune with all the college football, but I think it's a great pick. Eagles, I think they need DB. I think Bradbury and Slay both kind of took a step down last year. I know they brought back in C.J. Gardner-Johnson, but I think he'll probably be playing more of a kind of a safety nickel role. I think we saw kind of the weakness of the Eagles team last year was their secondary and linebacker group. They got the whole Georgia D line and so that's kind of covered. And I don't think they have one single hole except maybe center on the offensive side of the ball. So I just think DB makes a lot of sense here.
Yeah, and like you would project some positive like regression too from guys like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, like guys that just got drafted like the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Jalen Carter, like he's gonna be a stud for a long time. So,
absolutely. Now back to the Minnesota Vikings. My second selection is, I think this will kind of make my last pick make a little more sense. I'm gonna go Michael Penix from Washington, quarterback. He's pretty ranked for 46. See, I think he's underrated. I mean, a lot of people are giving him some slack, but I'd honestly prefer him over Bo Nix. But so I'm potentially take him where the Raiders took, but I don't really think a team's going to reach on him that much. But I think with the Vikings, maybe they like a guy like Penix or Bo Nix, and they think McCarthy's a bum. No point of wasting this pick. We'll get a better guy, like a top tier corner at like 11. Then settle for one of the guys like Bo or Penix that we kind of like instead of maybe reach for McCarthy and then get like a lesser corner or whatever position they're going to go at 23. So I kind of like this red for the Vikings. I'm not sure what you think about that.
Yeah, well, I don't think that this is what they will do. I think that by picking up the 23rd pick to go with the 11th, I think that poises them to trade up. But if this is what they were to do, I would be really impressed. Anyone that's been watching all the videos knows I'm a huge Michael Penix guy. So to put him on a team with Justin Jefferson would make me happy. I think he's at lowest the fourth best QB in this class, at the lowest. So to get him at 23, great move.
I'd probably have him as the third on it. I
mean, from the games that I've been watching, man, he was just slinging it all over the place, putting it right where it needed to be. He's got some escapability. The reasons why he fell down the board this far is because he's a bit older, so he's got some experience. Like he might actually be able to come in right away and be already kind of more mature and developed. Okay, and then he's had some injury history. Well, like people get injured. I'm not going to hold that against someone. Like look at CMC. He's had some nasty injuries, but he's still like best running back in the league. So I'm not going to let past injuries deter me here with my evaluation.
Now dem boys with a
A
lot
lot
a
of
lot
holes.
for PFF.
Yeah, a lot of holes for them boys.
Interested to see who you go here with.
Wow, this is me. um, I was waiting for you to make your pick. Yeah, it's a lot of holes here. Like I could see a wide receiver for them. I could see like anything to do with O line for them. Interior defensive linemen. Those are really the three positions that I'd be looking at. I think right off the bat, Johnny Newton. I feel like him falling this low might be a move, but O
Yeah.
line and wide receiver are such glaring holes. Brian Thomas probably next wide receiver I'd be looking at. Wow, it's a tough one. Even Amarius Mims, I think, could be a really good tackle too. But I think I'm gonna have to go Johnny Newton. I'd honestly be surprised if he falls this low.
Yeah.
I could see him going a lot higher than that. Great
He,
player, so
his skill level definitely is. It's just kind of in our opinion,
yeah,
kind of one
just the way the board shaked out. I mean,
we
I'm
positional
doing
need.
half the picking, so it's
Yeah.
not like a yeah.
Um. I guess now I'm on the clock with the Green Bay Packers, and I think I'm gonna go Amarius Mims from Georgia tackle. I think they just lost David Bakhtiari. Might as well just get his replacement in from Georgia, big tackle, protect Jordan Love, and you kind of already got your young skill group at wide receiver. Offense looked great last year. You brought in Josh Jacobs. Bringing a tackle to help you with the run game as well. I just kind of I think Green Bay's defense, they have a few holes, but they're a pretty solid unit last year. So I think shoring up the offensive line for young quarterbacks never a bad decision in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick too. Um, got the Buccaneers on the board. I think for them this one's a pretty easy one for me. I think they go edge. I think they take Jared Verse from Florida State. Another guy like
That
be
dropped.
surprised if he goes, but just the way the board shook out for us here, like not a lot of edges going. So
Yeah. Now I guess the Cardinals now with their second pick. I had them going kind of an outside linebacker slash D line here. But I get like a few guys are still on the board I didn't think would be on the board. So
yeah,
Leatu Latu from UCLA, an edge defender. Um,
couldn't agree more.
he's projected a little. I didn't really have him going to the Cardinals. So I thought he'd probably already be taken, but
Yeah, me too.
come back to just the way kind of our picks shake out here, and I think the Cardinals have just a bunch of glaring holes in the defense. Might as well start with probably like one of the most important with an edge rusher. They already got Marvin Harrison, so they don't really need I don't think they'd go double receiver in the first round. So I just kind of think that pick makes sense for them there.
Yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, like edge rusher is definitely it's one of the most important positions, and Latu's got a lot of skill. Like I just seen a highlight video of him like doing some workouts, and just like he's got a lot of speed to him. So I think
Yeah.
that could be a potential like good player for their rebuilding core for the future. Got the Bills on the board. They got a handful of holes too. I mean, wide receiver definitely. I think they'd look to bring someone in. Um, got some holes on O line, got some holes on D line, and got some holes in the secondary.
Yeah.
Um, but I think to still have a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. on the board from LSU, I think that's the pick for the Bills. I think he has a really high ceiling.
I
Just this class is so loaded with wide receivers that kind of a supply and demand thing. They're starting to fall, but I think he's got a lot of potential.
I agree. I didn't expect to see him fall this far too. I had them going another receiver that might say his name a little later. So because I didn't think Brian Thomas would be there, but I think bringing in Brian Thomas, especially with an aging Stephon Diggs, and they also brought in Curtis Samuel, who'd be a great wide receiver 3. So
Mm.
giving Josh Allen more weapons I just think it's a good decision there. Now the Detroit Lions on the clock. See, this is a tough pick for me here. I
Yeah.
thought PFF needs. I mean, I guess they could definitely use some secondary help, but they brought in Carlton Davis, which
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking they could use a receiver.
Yeah, I
PFF
agree with that.
PFF doesn't really agree, but fuck PFF. I'm gonna go receiver anyways. And I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go one of the Texas boys, but I'm trying to decide here. I think
Oh.
because they already have Jameson Williams as kind of their deep threat. I think I'm gonna go with Donnie Mitchell from Texas.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of a more polished route runner than kind of Williams, and I think Williams will be their deep threat. They'll kind of Among Us as just doing his thing, and I just think bringing in another receiver, just making that offense just even more elite, just giving Jared Goff every weapon possible, and because I like some of the moves they made on the
Me too,
defensive
man.
ball, so I think they have the luxury here to just bolster up with another weapon. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. They brought in, I think, the Ravens' old guard, Kevin Zeitler, shoring up that offensive line. I think it's going to be top in the league next year by, like, comfortably. Um, they did bring in Carlton Davis. Corner was a problem. Address it good. Like, that's a great move. I think they could still potentially go corner, maybe address that in the second round, but wide receiver, I definitely agree they needed one. And
Yeah,
Adonai Mitchell, him and Brian Thomas, I think, are pretty close for me, but I definitely have them 4 and 5. So great pick. Ravens on the clock. Um, Also worth noting here, PFF actually has Xavier Worthy at rank 68. I think that's
that's a crime.
interesting. I mean, I know breaking that combine record might have kind of got some people overrating him a little bit, but that low is pretty crazy to me. Um, Ravens. They lost some guys on the O line, man. Like they lost tackle, lost a guard. Um, Odell lost him, so their wide receivers are iffy. I don't. To be honest, I see they added in Derrick Henry. I know, but I see the Ravens taking a step back this year. I think they lost a lot of guys, and
Yeah,
um, for me with this pick, I think I think bring in a weapon, just go all out on offense. Like you're still gonna have a good defense. You still got big guys like Kyle Hamilton and Roquan Smith and so on and so forth. Like they're still gonna be a playoff team, but I think I'd give them Keon Coleman.
Keon Coleman, really.
Yeah,
And
I'm big on him. I think they got Zay Flowers as more of a speed guy. I think bring in Keon Coleman's more of like a physical receiver who's going to catch some 50-50 balls. I think it kind of diversifies their passing attack, give them maybe a red zone threat. I like that pick for them. I think he's going to be a good wide receiver in the league.
see, it's interesting that you say that because I had Keon Coleman going to the Chiefs because I thought kind of
Same
Mark
thing.
deep guy, so bringing kind of a jump ball guy for the red zone, and so I do like that pick for the Ravens. Um, Now with the 49ers here, I think honestly, I think they don't have, it's the 49ers, they're a pretty damn good team. I kind of agree with PFF's, what they need, corner, no line. I think I think a lot of corners have gone in the first round, so I think I'm going to go tackle here, Graham Barton from Duke.
Good
I
pick.
I had him projected a little earlier, so I didn't expect to see him around, but I think sure enough, that other tackle spot, besides Trent Williams, like on the right side, just kind of makes sense. Help CMC a little more, help Purdy. You already got all the weapons in the world, so if you can have protection, then you're looking pretty good there.
Yeah, another guy with some flexibility can play like tackle or guard, which for a contending team like San Francisco definitely gives him an added bonus. I even heard he could potentially play center, which would be
Yeah,
interesting. I don't know about that. I mean, I'm no offensive line expert, so
yeah,
I'm not going to comment too much. But
I,
anytime you got flexibility like that, I think that's big.
yeah,
Chiefs on the board. Everyone had them like locked in at wide receiver. They signed Marquise Brown, like you mentioned. They still got Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce. Um, they could potentially not go wide receiver here. But I mean, the Chiefs just got such a damn good team. I would still go wide receiver anyway, just to give Mahomes another
Yeah,
weapon and just, I mean, if they draft a stud wide receiver, like they probably should be favorites again, to be honest. And going off PFF's shitty board here, going Xavier Worthy, bringing in
yeah,
some more speed for Mahomes, him and Marquise Brown. Like, how are you going to cover that much speed?
yeah.
I think that's a home run pick for them.
I think it is too. I had them going receiver, like I said, Keon Coleman, but I think Worthy, Marquise Brown, Rashee Rice, Kelsey is just disgusting for
Mm.
Patty. Like Patty Mahomes just
Oh
won
my
back
goodness.
with nothing. He won with MBS and Juju and God, like all these pretty
Yeah.
mid/bummy receivers. Like this, he's got to give Mahomes weapons. It's scary to think about. Um, I mean, maybe they could go tackle. Is the only thing I'd
Yeah.
think. Besides,
I
because
mean, you could always shore up your D line.
yeah,
I
because
mean,
they
Sneed's kind of requested a trade, but I'm just assuming he's going to play. So like, you don't really need corners. You got
yeah.
potentially the best cornerback duo.
I'm pretty sure Donovan Smith, the most prolific cheater in the NFL, is still a free agent. We'll see what they do with him. If they want to bring him back. Yeah, I really like Worthy. I'm a bit. I don't know how PFF has him in the mud like that. He must
Yeah.
have done something to them.
For real,
But
bro. Like, I think Worthy's pretty comfortable. I don't really have any of the other wide receivers over him, to be honest. Like,
it's going to be the
not even
only.
thinking about it.
Um, yeah, I don't think we took Xavier Legette from South Carolina, did we?
He hasn't been taken. You got the Panthers on the clock with the
Yeah.
last pick for our video here.
And like I've kind of been hinting. I'm thinking DB. I mean, we have J.C. Horn, but like we lost Dante Jackson to your Steelers, and we our other two guys in our depth chart, Troy Hill and Dane Jackson, just are kind of rotational / third corner, like not really starting caliber. It doesn't really look like we're going to sign anyone in free agency, so I think I'm going to take the best on my board, the best guy left, and I'm going to go TJ Tampa from Iowa State. I'm just a big believer in having two pretty good corners. I just think if you can lock down in coverage, it just makes your D line better, makes your defense better. And I mean, we have another pick coming up too, so we can address receiver there if we need to, or address another hole in our team. But I just kind of think maybe there's a few corner needy teams coming up next. So I think, Corn's been going off the board pretty hot too. So lock down our corner at 33 is kind of what I'm thinking there.
Yeah, I like that. Like you said, you got the 39th pick too, so there's still enough wide receivers to go around at this point. All right, with that pick, you got any other guys that didn't get picked so far that you want to highlight as potential studs?
I mean, there's a few receivers. I'm kind of more, into the receivers. Troy Franklin from Oregon. I see him. He's projected, kind of top of the second round. Some people even have him going like late first round when they got like a lot of the top guys going a little earlier. And there's just, I feel like it's kind of honestly a pretty deep receiving class. There's a guy from Georgia. I don't know too much about Lad McConkey.
Yeah, a lot of people like him.
I saw some people kind of say he could be like kind of a Cooper Kupp type of guy, like really good polished route runner.
Mm-hmm.
Any guys you want to highlight?
Couple of guys that I think still have a lot of potential that didn't get picked, like Chop Robinson from Penn State. I know he was like
Yeah,
decently highly projected a while. He's fell down. I mean, I'm sure there's reasons for that, but I'd
yeah,
keep my eye on him as a potential guy. Next best tight end in the class, Jatavion Sanders. I'm curious to see where he ends up. There's like a couple teams that could use a tight end. So, and then where is he? Yeah, Braylon Trice going back to the well with the Washington boys, but
yeah.
I liked what I seen from him. I think he could be intriguing. And then like with the Steelers second round pick, I'm thinking we're probably going receiver. I mean, I guess it depends who's on the board, but I wouldn't be upset if they took Jalen Polk from Washington. He's
Yeah.
got a lot of speed, so I think that could be a potential good fit for us. But yeah,
Yeah.
super excited for this draft. This is the draft I've been like probably most excited for. So
Yeah.